Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business podcast, where we celebrate the stories, successes, and the spirit of women in business. I'm your host, Julie Fairhurst, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. So I have Chantel Murphy with us today, and she's from San Francisco, California. And Chantel, why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie, for having me here. Hi, everyone. My name is Chantel Murphy. I'm from San Francisco, and here I am the CEO and founder of Wishing You Well in Life. And I serve as an author, as a global leadership speaker, executive, and a corporate coach.
Wow. Now I read that you said you've got nearly 20 coaching certificates.
Yes. One of the things about it, Julie, is that I was working in the corporate world for over 2 decades.
Okay.
And within that time frame, I really wanted to be able to do more work that aligned with my mission. I wasn't feeling fulfilled with inside of the corporate world. So I took a step out and I really started to just take a leap of faith in going out about starting my own company. And when I went on that journey, I wanted to become one of the best coaches. A lot of my peers, they may only have one or two coaching certificates, if any. So I really wanted to be able to be that best. So I have acquired almost 20 coaching certifications. So I'm a master life coach, an HR development leader, a master meaningful coach, a meditation coach. So I use all of those skills leveraged so that when individuals do work with me, when they hack into my knowledge, I have a lot of things to give them. And that's one of the things that just has made me so successful within this journey.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's great to have more than one skill, especially when you're coaching people. Absolutely. I'm very impressed. That's really good. That's awesome. Okay, so let me start off by asking you a couple of questions. I'm curious. So, because I know you do executive coaching, you do corporate coaching. I'm curious about men and women. I'm
Mhm.
curious, do you find that you coach more men, or do you find that you coach more women, or is it kind of the same? What do you find?
I find that when I do the leadership speaking events that there's more women in the audience, but as far as me actually working with executives, I work with more executive men, and then the woman, there's more women entrepreneurs that I do work with. And
Of
most of the women entrepreneurs, I call them intrapreneurs because they're still in the corporate workspace and they're working in their own business. So it's
Yeah.
really kind of a little bit weird, but I do find that a lot of women, they do tend to play it a little bit more safer. They just don't jump off the cliff and say, I'm about to head into entrepreneurship. They definitely want to be a little bit more intentional with their time and still have that sound bite where they're able to be there for their families as well.
Absolutely. So what do you think then? So what do you think the biggest when you're dealing with those two different genders, what do you find is the biggest difference between the two? Is it what you just said now that they kind of hold back a bit where men tend to just jump?
Right. The men, they just kind of just tend to jump and then they're sewing the parachute on their way down. And so that's how
Right.
they kind of go. But a lot of women, they're a little bit more intricate about the process. They're a little bit more hesitant and they want to make sure they have something that's refined. They want to make sure that they have a proven system so that when they do say goodbye to the corporate world, they are fully prepared. They're already making the money. They've already validated the system, and so
Right.
I'm here for it either way. Me,
Yeah.
myself, I just took that plunge. I just took the jump. Like it's now or never with me. And so I do
Yes.
respect both ways. And the one thing about it is before I was coaching anybody, I was coaching myself. So I definitely was my first client. So when I do talk about empowerment, I'm able to talk about that empowerment on different levels. And I do respect it because a lot of women, they're like, hey, I still have my family that I have to take care of. I still do believe in work, life, and balance. And how can I balance work and life? And I'm starting this journey with entrepreneurship. So it's
Yes.
really about reducing that inner voice that's challenging them, telling them, no, no, we can't find this extra time. and I help them where they're able to design the time so that they will be aligned with all of their goals.
Oh, I love that. I have a lot of I belong to a lot of networking groups, and most of the women, not all, but most of the women I find are a bit more mature, and it's so true what you're saying. They're doing their day job,
Yes.
but they've got their side hustle they're preparing for, what really is moving them, so that when they get to the point where, just like myself, I retired just last year, but I had been building Women Like Me for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's wonderful, and I agree with what you said. Absolutely. Can I ask you? I saw on your website the art of building a resilient team. Can you
Yes.
tell us how you would? I'm just thinking about a lot of the people that I know that are struggling in their businesses, and some people have to have a team, and I think that most people should have a team. So what is that all about? The art of building a resilient team.
Yeah, that's a great question, Julie, and I appreciate you for bringing that up. A lot of times when I'm working with executives and even with entrepreneurs, they're saying I'm having a challenge with my team. We're not able to hit our productivity goals. We're not really there with our targets. So I'll come in and kind of triage the situation. And what I find out a lot of the times, Julie, is that people have a group of people, and these groups of people are not a team. It's a difference between a group and a team. So what I try
Ah,
to tell them is that we need to infuse these individuals now towards where they are a team. If you're looking at a team, and maybe let's take it as a basketball team, who's your point guard? Who's your power forward? Who's your center? Everyone needs to really be able to identify what their job title is and what that does mean within that. A lot of individuals now, ever since the pandemic, you have some people who are working remote, hybrid, and then on site. So you might have someone who's been working together for a couple of years, but they've never met each other in person. So one of the
yes.
first things that I do is I ask them to bring everybody together. Let's have a retreat where now people are able to actually shake some hands and get a rapport with these individuals. That's how you start to really have a shared vision. That's how your team is now in practice mode. We start to learn each other. We start to develop how that person does learn. We start to integrate and really have that camaraderie. Julie, I'm pretty sure when you first started one of your first jobs, what happened? You met some of your best friends at work. You would go
Mhm.
and hang out with them after work. You might go for happy hour. You might even get invited to a wedding, a baby shower. We need to have that same synergy now within these individuals that are working together. So I really do challenge them to have those meaningful relationships where it's not just surface level, where you're like, hi, Julie, bye, Julie. No,
Yes.
we need to be able to get to know each other. And once we turn that group of people into a team, now everyone's infused together. Everyone has that shared vision. Everyone now has a little bit more knowledge about what that person's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and now we know how to play the game. So now we're able to bring this off-season group of people. Now we're able to bring them into the team and we're able to put them on the court. And like I tell executives, as they now are on the court, now you're the coach. So watch how they do from one game to the next. Guess what? You have teams who have won the championship, but they didn't win every single game. So you're going to take some losses, but we can build off of those losses. And like they say, celebrate those wins. And that's the element of putting together a resilient team.
Chantel, you sound like a coach. That's awesome. That really got me thinking, because I was thinking back to my career and that I had previous to this, and no, you're absolutely right. There's groups of people that work together, but then there's teams of people, and the teams of people are way more successful than the groups of people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, by far. And when you have that team of people, then they're able to put that target into place. And they not only know where they come in at, but they know where now you come in at. And they know where this person comes in at. That way, they're able to hit these targets consistently. And one of the fun things about the work that I do is when I work with a lot of executives, they tell me I'm not their traditional coach. I don't want to be your traditional coach. I don't want to be a consultant just advising you on what to do. And one of the first things that I do ask my clients is, what is your professional desire? And they're like, my desire? I'm not really too sure. No one's asked me that. And they're like, but I have a goal. And I say, I have a goal too. I have a goal to wash clothes later on tonight. I have a goal to put gas in my car. But a desire, that's going to far outweigh that goal. So I
Mm.
take their professional desire and then we transfer that into one of my goal frameworks, goal, GOAL. And within that framework, that's how we're really able to tap into them as a leader. And that's what helps them out with their leadership legacy.
I love that. I turn the word goal into desire. That there's, as you were talking, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a huge difference between a goal and a desire. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
well, but I never thought of that before, but it's a, it really gets you thinking in a different way.
Yes. And within the goal framework, like the G, that's galvanize the vision. As we are moving towards something, what are we moving towards? That's the vision. And so I call that the North Star. So I have the
Mm,
leaders write out in one sentence, why are we moving towards this North Star? In one sentence. Now that one sentence, that serves as their leadership manifesto. So
yeah.
then we reverse engineer that from 5 years and break it down into 12 months. And then the O, that's to optimize your influence. Leadership is impact. I need you to map out your network. Who are your allies, your decision makers, your mentors, and then drive relationship building content with them. Everything needs to be results driven. How can we drive that? We drive that with our soft skills. And then the A, that's for aligned actions. Everything you do, you're using energy. I want that energy to be focused on your personal desires, on your goals. How can we track that? We can audit how you spend your work week, how you spend your work month, and then we can see what needs to be fixed, make those necessary tweaks, and then we can go from there, ensuring our success. And then the L, that's leverage your legacy. Let's face it, Julie, the ultimate form of success is the legacy that you leave. The legacy is the people and the systems that we put in place because they're going to outlast us. You and I, we
Mhm.
can only do this for so long, but it's the legacy that lives forever. So within the goal framework, not only are your personal desires achieved, but they're multiplied by the people and the systems that we put in place.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Let me ask you another question. Leadership speaking. So what is that all about? I know you talked about it briefly in the beginning, but what is are you teaching people to speak or what exactly is that about?
Well, what it's all about is me going to different leadership conferences, summits, retreats, and me talking to emerging leaders, seasoned leaders, and just really teaching them on how to be very innovative, teaching them to drop traditional models that no longer serve us. A lot of these things that we think that we need to do, we no longer need to do them because the landscape is completely different. Now we have
Mhm.
individuals from the silent generation and we're welcoming in Gen Zers. Julie, it's really funny because I was working at a leadership retreat, and this was the first time that the leader had brought his whole team together, and he's from the silent generation. So he finally had his EA right there. So he wrote his EA a note and gave it to her. She said, Chantel, can I talk to you for a moment? I said, of course. She handed me the note. She said, I can't read this. It's written in cursive. I'm Gen Z. We don't know how to read cursive. And so I
Wow.
was like, okay, this is great. This is great news because now we're learning how to work together. So the
Yes.
thing about it is that we need to stop and think about old methodologies and look at how the landscape is now. And
Yes.
how it is now, we need to be able to convert to how it is. And that's what
Yes.
we do talk about is galvanizing your vision. Your vision has to be future forward. You don't want to just think about
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
but you want to think about tomorrow's future leaders as well too.
Yes. Wow. Well, what brought you to coaching? What was it in your personal life that got you to where you are?
Within the two decades of me working in the corporate world, I've always worked with C-level executives. That was my thing. I always was a strategic partner for them, always helping them with a lot of different initiatives, a lot of different programs, helping them to increase their employee engagement surveys, helping them to reduce turnovers. So, to be honest, I was a coach before coaching became popular. So, one of the things about it is that I had a really good ride working with some profound leaders that really helped shape me. So, here's the real secret sauce. When I started working, it wasn't like I was working with the leaders, I was studying these leaders. I wanted to study them and learn the art of a good leader because I've had some profound leaders and then I had some toxic leaders, and I had to really compare them on what were their difference, like what made them different. I'm in the same industry, but through two different leaders, you have two different experiences. So really,
Mhm.
I was taking notes on their leadership. I was shadowing them, watching them, and just really I put together just notebooks filled of just this awesome leader. And that was one of the gifts that I said I could give back, because after seeing individuals die at the job, after seeing individuals go from work fatigue to burnout to now I quit, after the silent generation, after the silent resignation, I said, you know what? I'm able to solve a problem. And that's what pivoted me towards coaching. And I think that I've had a phenomenal ride with that, because now I'm really able to meet any leader where they are, introduce a different framework, help tweak them. And even though I'm impacting one individual, this is impacting their whole entire workforce and the workforces to come. So
Uh,
that's
um,
gratifying.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's similar to what I do. Working with one woman, and as she does what we do, women like me, it spreads
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
family members, to friends, and absolutely, we don't need to necessarily change the world. Well, we all want to change the world, but
Right.
but one person at a time,
That's
because
it.
that one person is going to spread their energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I thought that was great. Okay. What mindset shifts do you believe are necessary for someone to move from feeling stuck to thriving?
Is definitely just having a growth mindset, knowing that you are really in a position more like an apple tree. When you plant the apple tree, you're watering it. And then 3 years later, you're like, where is the tree? Where is it? But it takes 5 to 7 years for that tree to grow. So that might just be how we are. Even though you don't really see the growth, you're not stuck unless you are stuck. Once you say you're stuck, you're sending that signal to yourself, and the signal is going to be like, okay, I'm stuck. But if you say I'm growing, that means that your roots, you're placing your foundation just like that apple tree. And once you do
Mhm.
start to grow, then you will start to see the apples. Now, that takes 5 to 7 years. I don't want it to take 5 to 7 years. Not working with me, we start to get the ball rolling within 5 to 7 days. So
Yes.
you have to be careful about the messages that you send yourself, because it will read out to be true. If you're coming
Yes.
into a situation and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do good, I'm not going to pass this test, then guess what? You're not going to pass the test. But if you say, I'm going to get this test, I'm a rock star, I'm an A+ student, I'm going to knock it out the park, you're more than likely to knock it out the park. So I don't want for people to say, just stop sending those signals to yourself. Hey, that's
Yeah.
my friend you're talking about there. So we need
Yes.
to get you going with that. I can only cheerlead for my clients so hard until they start to cheerlead for themselves. Like I tell individuals, once you stand up in here, it's easier for you to stand up to the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. That was a great analogy. Okay, I have another one that I'm curious about. How do you incorporate emotional well-being into your coaching strategies?
That's one of the first things that I incorporate, because we have to be well here in order to have a well team. People are saying, oh, my team, they're not doing well. Well, how are you doing in here? So we need to tap in here, because what's going on with us emotionally, that does have an outcome with how we do go about doing things. So as leaders, like I tell them, let's go ahead and let's start to reframe your day immediately. When you do wake up, I don't want you to be influenced by the TV, by the media, by anything like that. I want you to start to just take some time off within yourself, meditate, work out. If you do affirmations, that's great. If you have scriptures that you read, that's great. I want you to pour positive things inside of you. Once you're in sync with yourself, everything else will just kind of bounce off of you. But those are important things that we need to be able to have. And emotional well
Yeah.
being, it also starts us off with us having really good relationships with other people. When you start to say, hi, Julie, how are you doing today? How is that going for you? Then in return, you're going to bring me the same thing back. You're going to mirror my image. So now
Yes.
when people are getting that positivity back into them, not only have they already poured into themselves for the day, but now people are also pouring into them as well too. And then I love to tell people, for one, I'm not a nature person. I'm not really a hiker or anything like that, but I do become one with nature. I do take walks. I do park my car a little bit further from the door. That way I'm able to have a nice long walk inside the building. Sometimes we find out the greatest answers when we're just one with nature, when we're taking a break and just releasing ourselves from everything else. That's when we really do start to get that clarity. So it's just
Mhm.
little tips like that that can give us that emotional well-being. And once we're well here, everything else starts to become even better.
Do you find that a lot of the people that you coach struggle with imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. I think that they do. And that just comes up from a lot of the things of how they came up. They may have imposter syndrome because they're the first of their family or their community to do something. And
Right.
when you are the first one to do something, you're not really able to ask anybody any questions because they've never done it before. As you are starting to embark on this journey, you do have that inner voice that's like, hey, what are you doing? This isn't us. This is unfamiliar to us. And so
Hmm.
I tell them this, it's almost like equivalent to your computer. Julie, you know, when you're downloading a new system, you have to reboot your computer because now your
Yes.
computer, it has to get in alignment with this new system. So like I tell them, as you're coming into something new, reboot yourself here. That way you're able to accept this change that is coming. You're able to acknowledge the new you. And as you are embracing that new you, ask yourself, what does this new person like to eat for breakfast? What would this new person like to wear today? How would this person like to have their hair today? And you own it from right then and there. And then it does help to implement that so that you're not an imposter because this is what you're doing. You're living your life. This is
Yes.
now the new shade of you.
Yes, yes, that was an excellent answer. Thank you for that. I find that a lot of the women that I deal with feel that they struggle a lot with imposter syndrome, for sure. So I think it's not just in the corporate world,
Oh,
but it's all over the place. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some powerful but simple daily habits that you could suggest to people to improve their well-being, to improve their self-esteem, their motivation?
Some of the simple things is just like I said before, just take that time for yourself. Julie, you notice how we have 8 hours while we're at work and we have like this 30-minute lunch. And so to some people, it might take them 10 minutes to get to lunch, 10 minutes to come back to the office, and then they're eating in 5 minutes. Let's stop that. Let's start to take 15 minutes to enjoy that lunch. Let's start to enjoy these things. Start to
Mhm.
come home and really enjoy your family. Simple things is really simple, but enjoy the moment, whatever that moment is. Don't let anybody rush you through anything. Take
Yeah.
your time. We have to send better signals to ourselves. We are worthy. We are valuable. We are an asset to society. One of the things I don't want anybody to do is to leave this earth and have an empty experience. we need to
Mhm.
show ourselves more gratification and more fulfillingness. So try to
Yes.
have that time where you are taking that time for yourself and just enjoy the moment.
That's wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. I think we live such a fast-paced existence that we don't take that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. And I know when you were talking about, in nature, I'm not a big nature person myself, but I get really, really, really good ideas in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That water, it's just clear. There's nothing else going on in there, You're just enjoying the warmth. And I get these boom downloads all the time. Yeah.
And that's where you find your clarity. You find your biggest epiphanies like,
Oh, no, I do. I do. Absolutely. Okay, for those struggling with self-doubt, what is one piece of advice that you might want to offer them?
is to definitely write a list. What are you doubtful of? Put the
Mm,
things that you are doubtful of on one side, and then on the other side, see how you can try to conquer that doubt. Like, let's just say you have self doubt about public speaking. And then on the other side, take an improv class. Start speaking at one of your community events. Start, even if you're speaking at your child's birthday party, just start to
yes.
do the speaking. So write down what you are doubtful about and then find a way to challenge yourself so that you can work around that. That way, you are less doubtful and you're sending better signals to yourself. And then once you
Yeah,
get these better signals, now you feel like you're fearless and you can conquer the world because you can conquer the world.
absolutely. Oh, I got shivers. That was beautiful. I loved it. Loved it. Okay. So what's next for wishing you well in life?
Well, I am super excited, Julie. I just came out with my book. It's called Influence Yourself in Life and Leadership. And so this is my author's copy. So I'm really excited about this. But this is now available on Amazon.
Oh,
And the thing
beautiful.
about it is that everybody may not be able to hear me speak as a speaker. Everybody may not be able to be my client as a coach. But now anybody can purchase my book, Influence Yourself in Life and Leadership. And this is really a big step for wishing you well because now anybody can tap into that well and they can get that water. And once you start to get
Ah,
that water, it will start to fill you back up. And when I do talk about influence yourself, that's exactly what I want for people to do. I want for individuals to be self reliant because when you're leaving this leadership legacy, you can't copycat off of somebody else because that's their legacy. I want you to archive and craft out your own. And within
yeah.
that journey, then here's the book to be able to help you tap into that, to help you develop different frameworks where you're asking yourself challenging questions and you're having those aha moments like you, but you're not in the shower.
Yes, exactly. Well, congratulations on your book.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and so you'll have to make sure we have the link. Yes, so
Absolutely.
people
Yes.
know how to find it. Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I have had a few aha moments listening to you, and I think the biggest one is I don't think I'm going to use the word goals anymore. I love that. Desires.
Yes.
That's a way better word.
Yes,
And
it is.
it feels, for some reason, I think goals can feel a little bit cold and harsh, maybe. Business, corporate goals. But
Yes.
when you say desires, that's like that's a lifting you up and what's going on in your heart and in your mind. I love that.
There you go. Yes. Now we're feeling into something a lot more deeper. Now we're feeling into something that is your passion. This is
Yes.
this is something that you want to tackle no matter what. A
Yeah.
goal, we can say, "Oh, this is my goal for Monday." But if this is your desire, this is going to be your desire every day of the week.
Yes. And I think and I mean I don't know. I'm going to test it. I'm going to quit using the word goals, but I think that you can I think people will achieve more desires than they will goals.
By far. Like I
Yeah.
said, at the end of the framework, you'll not only be able to meet your personal desires, but it'll be multiplied. And
Yes.
that's just that's just the bloom factor. So
Well,
yes,
that was a fabulous nugget. I mean, I got lots of little nuggets, but that's one that's really going to stick with me, Chantel. So I really appreciate that.
absolutely.
Chantel, I like to ask my guests just before we get into closing a few personal questions,
Okay.
if you don't mind, and
Okay.
just to get to know you a little bit better. They're fun questions.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So, what is your favorite book that inspires you in your business or life?
Definitely my favorite book is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Absolutely.
Mine too. That
Yep.
is absolutely mine too. I've read it, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, I read it. I have the audio, and it's just something that is so profound that it was written in 1939 and it's still our guide for today.
Yes.
So
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. If you could have dinner with any woman in history, who would it be and why?
I would love to tap into Oprah. I think that Oprah is a genius. I've just seen her pave so many paths and her pivot from one step to the
Yeah.
next. I think that it's really just genius and supreme for her to start off as a TV show host and now she has her own network, her own magazine. She's had these incredible interviews. So
Yeah.
I would just really love to just pick her brain and just hack into her system for at least 30 minutes. That would be just food for the rest of the year for me. So I would
Oh,
love it.
that would be that she's on my list. That would be
Okay,
beautiful. Yeah.
right.
Okay. So what's your favorite way to unwind after you have a really busy day?
Favorite way to unwind is I love watching movies from the 80s. I'm an 80s baby all day, and I just love watching those movies. It just puts me back into like this element of when times were good, music was great, things were a little bit more safe. So I'm just nestled into that moment, and I just absolutely love 80s movies. I feel like they have so much
Oh,
content. And this was before 3D and Pixar and
yeah.
AI, and
Yes.
everything was just fantastic.
Oh, well, my husband secretly downloads 80s movies that I get to watch on, yeah, and but he loves them. I like them too, but he could watch them over and
Yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I should ask him why he watches them. Okay, yeah, okay. So do you have a favorite motivational quote that keeps you going?
Yes, I have a motivation quote that I live by. It's don't be good, be good at it. That's
Good
it.
one. That is a good
Mhm,
one. That's a very good one.
mhm.
Okay, and the last question I'm going to ask you. If you could travel anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go and why?
I would have to pick Paris. It's been on my to-do list just for far too long now. And I've gone and I've traveled a lot of different other places and I just keep overlooking it for whatever reason. So I need to just get out there and just go for it. And I see other people out there and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be there." And it's like I can be there. So that's just one of the places that I would definitely like to go. Knock that off the list.
Yeah, you'll be there. You'll go there. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Shanta, I just have to tell you that this was fabulous. Lots of golden nuggets. You're a very smart lady. You have you know a lot.
Thank you.
Um, and I appreciate you doing this for all of my listeners and subscribers out there. I'm sure that they're going to get a lot from just like I have from what you've had to say. So, in closing, my dear, what would you like to share as a last tidbit or anything at all? What would you like to share with anybody?
In closing, I would like for individuals don't focus on what you can't do, focus on what you can do.
Mhm.
And that's it.
Nice and simple.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. Now, for everyone that's listening, if you go to the details section, you're going to find all of her information, and the link to her new book is going to be there as well. So, if you can't, as she said, it's perfect. If you can't coach with her directly, you can get coaching through the book. So, don't hesitate to reach out to her or grab her book if that's something that interests you. So thank you once again. I appreciate everything that you've done for us today in this short time together, and I hope to run into you again soon.
Yes, me too. I look forward to it.
Thank you.